It is Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025. Good evening and welcome to the daily happenings inside our federal machine. In a stunning admission before the House Judiciary Committee, Google stated that the Biden administration pressured them to remove political content and creators from the platform despite not violating YouTube's policies. Also, President Trump addressed the United Nations General Assembly today, covering a variety of topics including Palestine and renewable energy and his record number of peace deals that ended wars around the world. Democrats are pushing for a government shutdown unless they receive over $1 trillion for illegal immigrant health care and other welfare benefits, as well as transgender surgeries for minors, among other things. The man who tried to assassinate President Trump on a golf course last year was found guilty on all charges today. Once hearing the verdict, he did something absolutely shocking, which we will check out in just a little bit. And the Department of War Secretary Pete Hegseth has terminated the Defense Advisory Committee on Women in the Services. Also, the VA has allocated over $84 million in grants for homeless veterans. Governor Newsom's press office recently posted, "Kristi Noem is going to have a bad day today. You're welcome, America." And Secretary Noem breaks her silence over the sinister message. And there's lots more happening, so we're just going to dive right in. And if you enjoyed the video, please give the video a like if you have a second, and also subscribe to the channel if you have a chance to do so as well, to get daily updates on what's going on in the swamp. And if you leave a comment, I might just read your comment on the next episode if you decide to drop one. And by the way, all the videos, or all the posts rather, that are in this video, they're all within the last 24 hours, most of which are most likely within the last 12 hours. I try to get as much up-to-date information as possible before I put the entire show together. So we're going to start right here with this. Rep. Jim Jordan breaking: due to our oversight efforts, Google commits to offer all creators previously kicked off YouTube due to political speech violations to return to the platform. But that's not all. And he's got a thread here, so at least for right now, I'm going to skip over these, but I am going to repost them right now. If you want to check these out, you can go to my profile, x.com/Spathon. It's the same as my YouTube spelling, except there's an N at the end, N as in November. So there is a whole string here. He posted like 10 follow-ups to this. This is huge news. YouTube also admits that the Biden administration censorship pressure was, quote, unacceptable and wrong, and also confirms that the Biden administration wanted Americans censored for speech that did not violate YouTube's policies. Also details when YouTube began rolling back its censorship policies on political speech after the Judiciary GOP began its investigation. And Google also states that public debate should never come at the expense of relying on quote-unquote authorities. And Google also promises to never use third-party fact-checkers again. And finally, Google warns that Europe's censorship laws target American companies and threaten American speech. His next post says, over the past few years, we have uncovered massive scandals relating to big tech censorship. This goes all the way back to July 27th of 2023. The Facebook Files, Part 1, Smoking Gun Docs prove Facebook censored Americans because of Biden White House pressure. And following up on that, it says, never before released internal documents subpoenaed by the Judiciary Committee prove that Facebook and Instagram censored posts and changed their content moderation policies because of unconstitutional pressure from the Biden White House. During the first half of 2021, social media companies like Facebook faced tremendous pressure from the Biden White House, both publicly and privately, to crack down on alleged misinformation. In April of 2021, a Facebook employee circulated an email for Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg and COO Sheryl Sandberg, writing, quote, "We are facing continued pressure from external stakeholders, including the Biden White House," end quote, to remove posts. That's what it was in reference to. They were facing continued pressure to remove posts from Facebook. Well. In another April 2021 email, Nick Clegg, Facebook's president for global affairs, informed his team at Facebook that Andy Slavitt, a senior advisor to President Biden, was outraged that Facebook did not remove a particular post. And what did the Biden White House want removed? A meme. That's right. Even memes weren't spared from the Biden White House's censorship efforts. And he tags this approved. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out what that watermark says. But anyway, the meme is as follows from Timothy McComas. It reads, and the meme says, 10 years from now, you will be watching TV and hear, quote, did you or a loved one take the COVID vaccine? You may be entitled ... Kind of like those, remember those mesothelioma commercials? Like you could be entitled to receive money from a class action lawsuit if you were dealing with asbestos at any point in your life, like one of those kind of infomercials. So anyway, when Clegg countered that removing content like that would represent a significant incursion into traditional boundaries of free expression in the U.S., Slavitt disregarded the warning and the First Amendment. And then Jim Jordan goes on to say, what happened next? Facebook panicked. In another April 2021 email, Ryan Rice, Facebook's VP of Public Policy, raised the concern that Slavitt's challenge felt very much like a crossroads for us with the Biden White House in these early days. But Facebook wanted to repair its relationship with the White House to avoid adverse action. Given what is at stake here, it would also be a good idea if we could regroup and take stock of where we are in our relations with the White House and our internal methods too. This wasn't the first time the Biden White House was angry that Facebook didn't censor more. According to these documents, the Biden White House demanded to know why Facebook had not censored a video from Tucker Carlson. So Facebook prepped its response. To appease the Biden White House, talking points were drafted for Clegg. Facebook was ready to tell the White House that it had demoted a video posted by Tucker Carlson by 50%, so shadow banning it, in response to the White House's demands, even though the post didn't violate any policies. So they're shadow banning videos, and they're removing its ability to be seen by just everyday regular people because the Biden White House demanded them to do so. You notice how heads are not rolling. There's not any kind of actual real accountability. The only thing that's being accountable is the fact that the American people are learning about it and literally nothing else. Public pressure mounted as well. In July of 2021, President Biden publicly denounced Facebook and other social media platforms, claiming they were killing people by not censoring alleged misinformation. I think Facebook should get they should get their asses sued off for this. I mean, for what, tens of billions of dollars or something like that. I don't know if they're going to go and pursue that or not. Again, this is 2 years old. These strings, the string of Facebook posts that Jim Jordan is referencing. On August 2nd of 21, Facebook admitted it was going to change its policies because of pressure from the Biden White House. August 2nd, 2021, Facebook's leadership asked Misinfo Policy to brainstorm some additional policy levers we can pull to be more aggressive against misinformation. This is stemming from the continued criticism of our approach from the Biden administration. Are you starting to notice how anti-free speech the Democratic Party truly is? This is how anti-free speech they really are. And this is such a tiny tip of the iceberg when it comes to COVID. This is just but a scratch on the top of the iceberg. But it wasn't just the White House. Facebook also changed its policies in direct response to pressure from Biden's Surgeon General, censoring members of the Disinformation Dozen. These documents and others that were just produced to the committee prove that the Biden administration abused its powers to coerce Facebook into censoring Americans, preventing free and open discourse on issues of critical public importance. Only after the committee announced its intention to hold Mark Zuckerberg in contempt did Facebook produce any internal documents to the committee, including these documents, which proves that government pressure was directly responsible for censorship on Facebook. Based on Facebook's newfound commitment to fully cooperate with the committee's investigation, the committee has decided to hold contempt in abeyance for now. To be clear, contempt is still on the table and will be used if Facebook fails to cooperate in full. To be continued. Holy cow, that was a string. So let's get back to the point at hand. I don't know if he's going to drop like a part 2 in this string. So we're going back to Google and YouTube. All right. So that was all about Facebook. And referencing that, over the past few years, we have uncovered massive scandals relating to big tech censorship. So we laid that out with Facebook. Now we're going to move on to the next part, referencing YouTube and Google. During the Biden-Harris years under White House pressure, YouTube changed its policies to censor political debate on COVID and elections. Today, as of like today, September the 23rd of 2025, YouTube admits that the censorship pressure from Biden administration was, quote, unacceptable and wrong, end quote. So he's referencing a part of a document here. It says, it is unacceptable and wrong when any government, including the Biden administration, attempts to dictate how the company moderates content, and the company consistently fought against those efforts on First Amendment grounds. They didn't really fight against anything because all they really did was say, your wish is my command, sire, and they fucking did it. What the hell are they talking about? Anyway, now to make amends to the American people, and because of our work, being the Judiciary Committee, YouTube is rolling back its censorship policies on political speech, including topics such as COVID and elections. Well, it's a little too soon, too late. How convenient after COVID's fucking 5 years old now. It's literally ancient history at this point. But that's so nice of them. That's so thoughtful of YouTube to be able to roll that back. Now, look, I know I'm on YouTube. This video is on YouTube. This entire series that I do, it's only on YouTube. I mean, I post a link to this video on X, but I don't actually upload this video itself to X, at least not yet. So, I'm not trying to start up any beef with YouTube or anything like that. I'm just, voicing my frustrations, but I do appreciate that they are inviting back YouTubers who have been banned just for exercising free political speech. I mean, that is nice, at least. It's really sad and disgraceful that this ever happened in the first place, since we're supposed to be living in a free speech country after all. So anyway, let's see. So what does that mean? Whether you were an established YouTube presence with a massive following like Dan Bongino, or just were starting out to express political views there, you will have an opportunity to come back onto the platform if you were censored for engaging in political speech. This is another victory in the fight against censorship. In August of 2024, Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg wrote the committee a letter admitting Biden administration pressured Facebook to censor Americans. Facebook censored Americans. Facebook throttled the Hunter Biden laptop story. You remember that? Remember when they dropped that? Absolute, incredibly sensational news for Facebook to admit that, but you didn't hear a word of that on mainstream media. Not a fucking word. All right, so he links, looks like another string of tweets possibly, or maybe an image. Let me just take a quick look. Okay, yeah, so this is referencing, this was back August 26th of 2024. 65 million views. Damn, dude, that's a lot. House Judiciary GOP, Mark Zuckerberg just admitted these three things, which I just read. So there you have it. And moving back, hopefully to, shit. All right, I lost my place. No big deal. No big deal. I'm at the beginning, so it ain't going to take long. All right, here we go. La, la, la. La, 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 la. All right, moving down, moving down. Oh, here we are. So anyway, even as Meta admitted the Biden-Harris censorship was wrong, others in big tech were reluctant to go on the record. Now Google is acknowledging for the first time that it too faced censorship pressure from the Biden White House, and that pressure was unacceptable and wrong. But that's not all. YouTube is making changes to its platform to prevent future censorship. YouTube is committing to the American people that it will never use outside so-called fact checkers to censor speech. No more telling Americans what to believe and what not to believe. YouTube also is trying out community notes. I think that's a wonderful idea. Hey, YouTube, while you're at it, get rid of the dislike button. Not get rid of it, bring it back. Get rid of your policy on the dislike button. That's what I meant to say. Get rid of that, because that's all part of this whole censorship bullshit. It really is. By getting rid of the dislike, you are stripping away the ability for people watching YouTube videos to tell if it is really a video that you could either trust, or a video you can rely on, or a video that you might actually enjoy. And this is coming from someone who just started a YouTube channel, where it probably would benefit me more than anything to not have the dislike button, just because some of my videos, they get quite a few dislikes, and more so than likes. And I just think that's just overall good for everyone. It's good for the public square. It's good for public discourse. I just think it's good all around if you bring it back. So YouTube, please bring that back. I think everybody would agree, or at least publish a poll somewhere. YouTube, they have an X profile. Why don't you post just a simple survey on there and ask everyone, should we bring back the dislike count, the dislike counter for every video? Yes or no? Just make it simple. Ask the community, because people on the left, people on the right, people old, people young, all walks of life They all have access to your YouTube account on X, at least everybody who's on X. So it's not like you're going to get a politically biased answer. You're going to get a general answer. And I bet you're going to get an overwhelmingly percentage of people voting yes. Probably over 90% of people are going to say yes, bring back the dislike button. Because right now, the only thing we have is just basic conspiracy stuff. Like, we get what YouTube was saying with the dislike. Well, we don't want people for targeted harassment. We don't want people to feel like that their feelings are getting hurt in some way or another. But come on, man, we know the real reason for getting rid of the dislikes. It's because mainstream media is put up on the top of the YouTube page all the time, the recommended page, the trending page, and it doesn't look very good for the mainstream media when millions of people visit the YouTube's homepage and they see their videos day after day having way more dislikes than likes. So it wasn't good. It wasn't a good look for the mainstream media, and they've been a failing series of news brands for years now. Nobody trusts them anymore at all. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. I just hope YouTube will do that favor for everyone and bring back the dislike counter. So anyway, let's see. YouTube is also trying out community notes. Splendid idea. Elon Musk was ahead of the curve. Meta followed suit, and now YouTube. And YouTube confirms that Europe is targeting American speech and innovation. Here, it admits that European social media laws place a disproportionate regulatory burden on American companies. Since I got a lot to read, I'm going to skip over that. But anyway, at the very top, I reposted this entire thread, or you can just go straight to Rep. Jim Jordan's profile. It's at Jim_Jordan. You can read this part here for yourself, or you can pause and zoom in and read it here. All right, we good? All right, let's go. YouTube warns that Europe could force companies to remove lawful social media content and could risk freedom of expression within and outside of the EU. That's right, Europe wants to censor your online speech even if you aren't in Europe. Well, go fuck yourself, Europe. You have no right to dictate what we do in the United States. We've got something called the Constitution. Y'all don't have that. We do. So, in fact, the tables actually should be turned. You should be forced to listen to whatever the hell we want, because at the end of the day, Google is an American company. YouTube is an American company. If you don't like what happens on YouTube or Google, then go fuck yourself. Go create your own Google. Go do your own thing. Don't take our shit. Come up with your own shit. Do your own YouTube. Call it Eurotube or some shit. I don't know. All right, so Google and YouTube credit Judiciary GOP for bringing transparency of and accountability for big tech censorship. We will continue to hold big tech accountable. Read Google's whole letter to the committee here. Well, don't mind if I do. I'm not going to read it all right now, but I will link it for you if you want to read it yourself. This is it right here. It is a 5-page letter directly from YouTube. Let's see who signed it. Daniel F. Donovan, counsel for Alphabet. So from the lawyer. The big old fancy lawyer. The stiff suit representing Alphabet, a multi-trillion-dollar company. At least I think it's worth trillions. All right, so all the above are massive wins for the American people, the First Amendment, and freedom. We won't stop fighting to protect free speech. Amen. Well done, Rep. Jim Jordan. Isn't that amazing? That is absolutely, absolutely crazy. The extent that the Biden administration went through to try to censor speech just to hold a series of political narratives that just fit whatever they wanted to fit at the time, especially pertaining to COVID. Absolutely crazy, man. They were censoring Joe Rogan when he was advocating for ivermectin, and I think hydroxychloroquine was the other thing that he was advocating for. It was across the board, man. Like, they were calling it horse dewormer. You remember all that bullshit? And then they were suppressing anybody who was saying, no, actually, this medication that's been around for 60, 70 fucking years, it's actually really good for COVID. You even had renowned doctors coming out and saying that hydroxychloroquine was amazing for COVID. And it would have absolutely been a perfect substitute for anybody who didn't want to get the vaccine, because the vaccine wasn't a vaccine. It didn't prevent you from getting COVID. And I can't remember who it was. Somebody was up in the hot seat. Oh, yeah, the former FDA director or whatever. She was just in front of the committee last week where, who the hell was it? Rand Paul. I think it was Rand Paul was drilling her about that, about how the COVID vaccine, it's not really a vaccine. He didn't use those words, but he was basically saying that, like, it didn't prevent you from getting COVID, right? And of course, she was given some bullshit roundabout, I'm not going to answer this question kind of answer. But anyway, whatever. I don't want to get into the weeds with COVID. So, all right. So that's that. Big news. It is a win for free speech, sort of. But what this thing really shows is that if Google, Alphabet, Facebook, Twitter, formerly Twitter, now X, Instagram, like all of these social media companies, they could censor all the speech that they want, and they wouldn't even really have to tell us. If they wanted to listen to some government entity with regard to censoring speech, they can do it. And this proves that not only can they, but they have done it before. And on top of it, to make it even worse, they've repeatedly lied about it. No, we're not censoring speech. We're not shadow banning anybody. We're not banning people for political free speech because they have a certain opinion about something. Yeah, they were. Yeah, they were. They absolutely were. Now that they admitted it. So if they do it again, they're just going to do the same thing. Oh, no, we're not doing that. Oh, no. Remember back in 2025 when we promised we wouldn't do it again? We're totally not doing it. All right. Well, anyway, so I'll take it as good news. I'll take it as a win. Thank you very much to YouTube and to Alphabet for being not only transparent, but finally being honest. All right. So from the White House, President Trump participates in a bilateral meeting with the president of Ukraine. This actually comes at a good time. I could take a little break here, but we're going to watch this video. I think it's, oh, wait, no, we're not. It's 26 minutes. I thought it was only 6 minutes. Well, anyway, I got a clip of it here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to repost it here. If you want to check it out on my profile, you can either go directly to the White House. They posted it at 1:29 p.m., September 23rd. So just in case this thing was too long, I actually grabbed a shorter clip from it, 32 seconds. And it's got a quote with President Trump and Zelensky because they met today. So let's just have a quick look at this ridiculously bad quality from Rapid Response 47.
We're going to start a meeting with the president, who we all know very well, and he's a brave man, and he's picking up one hell of a fight, and we'll see how that all turns out. But we're going to have a meeting, and we have about 30 meetings scheduled today. We have a lot of meetings scheduled today, going pretty late into the night. But this is an important one, and we have great respect for the fight that Ukraine is putting up. It's pretty amazing, actually.
Hey, notice how he's wearing a suit again. He actually wore a suit again. My boy, my baby boys, they're all grown up. All right. Department of State Secretary Rubio. Of course, it's a quote. You know how I do quotes. I'd rather just play the video. So, one-on-one with Secretary of State Marco Rubio on GMA. Let's listen to this.
But the United States has saved more lives and continues to save more lives than any other country in the world. And we're going to continue to do it, but we're going to do it the right way and in a responsible way. We're not going to continue to pour billions of dollars out the door of American taxpayer funds for programs that don't work, and in some cases, we're flat out corrupt. But the United States has saved more.
Absolutely, man. Let's hope so. For fuck's sakes, man. American taxpayers are so sick of that shit. All right, so we're going to start moving into President Trump's speech today at the UN. So this starts with House Foreign Affairs Committee majority. President Trump is undoubtedly the president of peace. By ending several wars, he's doing exactly what the UN should have been doing all along. Under his strong leadership, we're restoring peace through strength and finally putting America first on. This is on Fox News.
Likewise, in a period of just 7 months, I have ended 7 unendable wars. They said they were unendable. You're never going to get them solved. Some were going for 31 years, 2 of them, 31, think of it, 31 years. One was 36 years. One was 28 years. I ended 7 wars. And in all cases, they were raging with countless thousands of people being killed. This includes Cambodia and Thailand, Kosovo and Serbia, the Congo and Rwanda, a vicious, violent war that was, Pakistan and India, Israel and Iran, Egypt and Ethiopia, and Armenia and Azerbaijan.
You think he might deserve the Nobel Peace Prize by now? And what did Obama get his Nobel Peace Prize for? He was only president for, it wasn't even a year. He was president for like 7 months and they gave him the fucking Nobel Peace Prize. And it was, I think it was for some like climate change bullshit or something like that. Absolutely fucking ridiculous.
It included all of them. No president or prime minister, and for that matter, no other country has ever done anything close to that. And I did it in just 7 months.
Yeah, you did.
It's never happened before. There's never been anything like that. I'm very honored to have done it.
Just goes to show how powerful the presidency can really be.
Things instead of
in the right hands.
The United Nations doing them. And sadly, in all cases, the United Nations did not even try to help in any of them.
Absolutely ridiculous. Isn't that fucked up? probably because there might be some financial advantage in doing so. So I've got quite a few of these. I've got like 5 or 6 of these clips because he gave a speech for, I think it was a little bit over an hour. So I grabbed just some of the clip notes from it because, of course, I don't have enough time to play the entire thing. But so I'll just play just a few more clips here where it looks like he's talking about self-sabotage of industrialized nations.
The entire globalist concept of asking successful industrialized nations to inflict pain on themselves and radically disrupt their entire societies must be rejected completely and totally, and it must be immediate. That's why in America I withdrew from the fake Paris Climate Accord.
Good.
Where, by the way, America was paying so much more than every country.
Yep, and they're all pissed off about it.
China didn't have to pay until 2030. Russia was given an old standard that was easy to meet.
What the fuck? They don't have to pay until 2030.
90 standard.
Why? They've got the #2 biggest economy on the planet. The fuck are they waiting for?
For the United States, we're supposed to pay like $1 trillion. And
unfucking believable.
I said, this is another scam.
Yep, the climate
scam. The fact is, the United States has been taken advantage of by the world for many, many years, but not any longer, as you probably noticed. I unleashed massive energy production and signed historic executive orders to hunt for oil, but we don't have to do much hunting because we have the most oil of any nation, anywhere, oil and gas in the world. And if you add coal, we have the most of any nation in the world. Clean, I call it clean, beautiful coal. You can do things today with coal that you couldn't have done 10 years ago, 15 years. So I have a little standing order in the White House. Never use the word coal, only use the words clean, beautiful coal. Sounds much better, doesn't it? But we stand ready to provide any country with abundant, affordable energy supplies if you need them, when most of you do. We're proudly exporting energy all over the world. We're now the largest exporter.
All right, moving on to the next one. Climate change, the greatest con job ever perpetuated. This is from the U.S. Department of Energy. They reposted this.
Climate change. It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion. Climate change, no matter what happens, you're involved in that. No more global warming, no more global cooling. All of these predictions made by the United Nations and many others, often for bad reasons.
Every year, it's only 12 more years, right? Next year, oh my God, we only got 12 years until runaway global warming. It's unstoppable.
They were made by stupid people that have cost their countries fortunes and given those same countries no chance for success. If you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail.
Yeah, matter of fact, I actually just saw this today. I almost included it in the episode, but with regard to Scotland, I want to say it was Scotland in the well, yeah, I think it was Scotland. I'll stand on that. I'm pretty sure it was, but they were talking about wind turbines and wind energy, and the turbines are supposed to be installed for a period of 20 years, if not longer. However, time and time again, the ones that they installed about a decade ago, they keep failing. So they have to dismantle the entire wind turbine, and they have to essentially throw it into a landfill, which they have been doing. But they're taking up tons and tons of space in local landfills, and it's becoming a serious problem, and they have no idea how to address it. So an obvious problem that's going to take a while to fix. From what I've heard, I don't know if it's in the United States exclusively, but apparently they're burying them after they've been up and generating power for 10, 15 years. They'll dismantle it and they'll just bury it in the ground. Like, how is that helping the environment? How is that a good thing exactly? Please explain that.
And I'm really good at predicting things, you know. They actually said during the campaign they had a hat, the best-selling hat. Trump was right about everything. And I don't say that in a braggadocious way, but it's true. I've been right about
a lot. I don't know about everything.
And I'm telling you that if you don't get away from the green energy scam, your country is going to fail.
100% correct. He's absolutely correct. And we know this because we've put over $1 trillion into renewable energy, and our electrical bills are just going up and up. They're not going down as the Democrats promised. They haven't. In fact, later in this episode, I did grab something from the New York Post with regard to a solar farm that they are decommissioning in 2027 after they had spent tens of billions, or no, not tens. I think it was was like 2 billion, or it was in the billions of dollars that they spent on just one single solar farm, and they're dismantling it because the cost of operation is too heavy. They're not getting any return on investment. It's costing more money to maintain it than it is to actually produce the electricity in the first place. It is a massive, massive scam.
And if you don't stop people that you've never seen before, that you have
Nuclear
nothing
energy,
in common
folks.
with, your country is going to fail.
And hydroelectric.
I'm the president of the United States, but I worry about Europe.
Oh, yeah, I worry about Europe, too. There's a lot of problems going on in Europe. I'm not so sure if renewable energy is the biggest problem that they're facing. I would say it's pretty far from it. You know, here in about 50 years, Europe's going to be an Islamic republic. I think that's something that might be concerning to them. But anyway, that's not something to discuss today. That's for another day, I suppose. So this one, Department of Energy, once again, looks like the AI green bankruptcy that he's talking about.
Energy is another area where the United States is now thriving like never before. We're getting rid of the falsely named renewables. By the way, they're a joke. They don't work.
They don't.
They're too expensive. They're not strong enough to fire up the plants that you need to make your country great.
Especially with AI initiatives, especially with AI, because AI is 24/7. These AI data centers are going to consume an enormous amount of electricity to the point where we essentially we don't really have to reinvent the wheel, but we have to come up with real innovative solutions for energy. And they're doing so with those small modular nuclear reactors, which I know I've talked about time and time again. I'm just so excited about these things because they're going to be mass producing these things. Just one plant in Tennessee, they're going to be producing over 100 per year by, I believe it's 2027. It's going to take them a couple of years to build the plant and to get these modular nuclear reactors in production. But each one of them will produce enough energy to power tens of thousands of homes. So initially, they're not going to use them for residential power generation. They're going to use them for these AI data centers and other manufacturing facilities. But down the road, they're talking about opening up more of these manufacturing facilities. Europe already committed, the UK already committed to buying a bunch of these modular nuclear reactors because I believe that they're bringing a lot of their AI infrastructure online, which they're going to piggyback off of our AI infrastructure development, which was part of Trump's trip to the UK last week, where he discussed that, and they signed some like energy initiatives together. So it's all great news. But as far as wind and solar, it is an absolute financial catastrophe. I mean, he couldn't be more correct on that.
The wind doesn't blow. Those big windmills are so pathetic and so bad, so expensive to operate.
Yep, waste of
And
money.
they have to be rebuilt all the time.
Are you
They start
listening,
to rust
Democrats?
and rot.
You getting triggered
Most
yet?
expensive energy ever conceived, and it's actually energy. You're supposed to make money with energy, not lose money. You lose money, the governments have to subsidize. You can't put them out without massive subsidies. And most of them are built in China, and I give China a lot of credit. They build them, but they have very few wind farms. So why is it that they build them and they send them all over the world, but
But they don't have any.
they barely use them? You know what they use?
Why
Coal.
indeed? Yeah, they use
They
coal.
use gas.
Tons of coal.
They use almost anything, but they don't like wind.
Yeah, right now, China, they are currently in the process, under construction. They have 27 coal power plants, major coal power plants that are currently under construction in China.
But they
So,
sure as hell
just
like
saying.
selling the windmills. Europe, on the other hand, is a long way to go, with many countries being on the
There's
brink
China,
of
right?
destruction because of the green energy agenda. And I give a lot of credit to Germany.
I think they're smiling. You think
Germany
they're
was
smiling?
being led down a very sick path, both on immigration, by the way, and on energy. They were going green, and they were going bankrupt. And the new leadership came in, and they went back to where they were, with fossil fuel and with nuclear.
He's talking about Germany, isn't he?
It's now safe. You can do it properly. But they went back to where they were, and they
I wasn't paying
opened up
attention.
a lot of different plants, energy producing plants.
I need to pay
And
attention.
they're doing well. I give Germany a lot of credit for that.
Okay, all right, yeah.
They've said
I
this
thought
is
you
a
might have said Germany.
disaster, what's happening. They were going all green. All green is all bankrupt. That's what it represents.
Not good.
And
It won't go broke.
it's not politically correct. I'll be very badly criticized for saying it, but I'm here to tell the truth. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, I mean, like Trump, with regard to Germany, I mean, he's got no dog in the fight. He just sees it for what it is, and he knows that Germany knows. A lot of it is just all of this, virtue signaling for all of these like progressives and these nonprofits and NGOs and all that bullshit. I'm sure they got all of that over in Germany too. All right, anyway, moving on to the next one from the House Foreign Affairs Committee majority. So let's give this one a play. Is it just, all right, hold on. It's not all quoted, but Hamas terrorists should not be rewarded for their horrific and barbaric actions. Recognizing a state of Palestine will not lead to peace. It only brings more bloodshed. Hamas can end the war today by releasing all the hostages. They don't have that in quotes, so that's why I felt it was necessary to read it.
As everyone knows, I have also been deeply engaged in seeking a ceasefire in Gaza. Have to get that done. Have to get it done. Unfortunately, Hamas has repeatedly rejected reasonable offers to make peace. We can't forget October 7th, can we? Now, as if to encourage continued conflict, some of this body is seeking to unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state. The rewards would be too great for Hamas terrorists for
how are they doing on the
their
phone
atrocities.
Up there?
This would be a reward for
they can't
these
speak
horrible
English.
atrocities, including October 7th, even while they refuse to release the hostages or accept a ceasefire. Instead of giving to Hamas and giving so much, because they've taken so much, this could have been solved so long ago. But instead of giving in to Hamas's ransom demands, those who want peace should be united with one message: release the hostages now.
Yeah, it is one of those demands, those ransom demands, is that they must declare Palestine a state, because and is that what all of these countries are doing? Is that the purpose? I haven't heard that anywhere. It's just I don't know, kind of an educated guess, I guess.
Just release the hostages now.
Which they're not going to do. They're not going to do that. And everybody knows that. I think everybody knows they're never going to release the hostages. It's going to have to get down to a point where they finally locate where they are and then just, do whatever it is that they got to do. And that's if there's any still alive. Are they still routinely insisting to show proof of life? Or has it really been like a year or 2 years since we've had any contact with any of these hostages? I mean, if they can't show proof of life, I think that might be the time for them to move on in, because, what are we doing here? I'm assuming that they just simply don't know where they are. And there's really no way of knowing for sure if all the hostages are in the same place. They may have one hostage in each different location, 50 different locations. I don't know. I'm not read up on it at all. I'm just, throwing a random shot in the dark on that. All right, so we have one more here. So it has to do with UN having a lot of potential. So, and a lot of it's being wasted.
It's too bad that I had to do these things instead of the United Nations doing them. And sadly, in all cases...
Yeah, isn't that what the fuck the United Nations is there for? To try to make all these peace deals, all these deals that Trump has been making virtually by himself and his administration.
The United Nations did not even try to help in any of them.
Unbelievable.
I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. But she's in great shape. We're both in good shape. We both
that really happened? What the fuck? The escalator broke?
And then a teleprompter that didn't work.
Yeah, I did hear that. I actually tweeted that earlier today, reposted something that somebody else posted. Like, apparently the teleprompter stopped working, and my opinion was that they purposely sabotaged it because there's a lot of people there that really don't like Trump. So they thought maybe we can get back at him for disabling his prompters, without realizing that actually President Trump's pretty good without a prompter. I mean, he's pretty famous for going on those campaign trail events, and he would have only like a 7-minute speech typed out, and he would go on for 2 hours just bantering with the crowd, and yeah, like apparently like his average speech while he's on the campaign trail only amounted to like 7 or 8 minutes on the prompter, but he would go on for like 2 hours, man. He's pretty incredible with that.
These are the 2 things I got from the United Nations: a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. Thank you very much. And by the way, it's working now. It just went on. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, this isn't New York City,
I think I should just do it the other way. It's easier. Thank you very much. I didn't think of it at the time because I was too busy working to save millions of lives. That is the saving and stopping of these wars. But later I realized that the United Nations wasn't there for us. They weren't there. I thought of it really after the fact, not during these negotiations, which were not easy. That being the case, what is the purpose of the United Nations? The UN...
Yeah, but the United Nations is doing the exact opposite. Instead, they're caving to whatever demands that Hamas has, and they're recognizing Palestine as a state. And I just shared that yesterday on my episode, where 4 countries, and I'm sure there was more than 4, there were only 4 that I found, but there were probably a lot more than 4 countries that formally recognize Palestine as a state, according to their country. It's absolutely insane.
There's such tremendous potential. I've always said it. It has such tremendous, tremendous potential. But it's not even coming close to living up to that potential. For the most part, at least for now, all they seem to do is write a really strongly worded letter.
Yeah, and they do
and then
nothing.
Never follow that letter up. It's empty words, and empty words don't solve war. The only thing that solves war and wars is action.
Absolutely. He's 100% correct on that. I mean, I'd be curious to know, like, what kind of power do they really have other than just organizing and just talking about stuff going on in the world? I mean, I'm sure they've got to have some like actual tangible, influence or power to do something. I don't know. It kind of makes me wonder, really. So it looks like we got one more here with regard to, looks like Russia.
China and India are the primary funders of the ongoing war by continuing to purchase Russian oil. But inexcusably, even NATO countries have not cut off much Russian energy and Russian energy products, which, as you know, I found out about 2 weeks ago, and I wasn't happy. Think of it. They're funding the war against themselves. Who the hell ever heard of that one?
Yeah, really.
In the event that Russia is not ready to make...
Yeah, isn't that's kind of ironic, that Europe is standing for Ukraine, and they're inviting them into NATO, and they're supplying Ukraine with money. Or no, hold on. We are supplying Europe with money, and Europe is taking that money. Or no, hold on. I do have it backwards. We're giving Europe weapons. Weapons are going to Ukraine from Europe. So Europe is paying for the weapons that we're producing in the United States. We're sending those weapons over to Europe. Europe is handing them over to Ukraine so Ukraine can fight a war against Russia. Meanwhile, Europe is basically funding the war for Russia by buying energy from Russia. It's so fucked up, and it's so obvious. It's absolutely insane,
make a deal
man.
To end the war, then the
up.
United States is fully prepared to impose a very strong round of powerful tariffs, which would stop the bloodshed, I believe, very quickly. But for those tariffs to be effective, European nations, all of you are gathered here right now, would have to join us in adopting the exact same measures. I mean, you're much closer to this. We have an ocean in between.
Exactly. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, the United States almost doesn't really have any real skin in the game. Not really. It's on the other side of the planet. And Europe borders with Russia and basically borders with Ukraine as well. So, yeah, we've got an entire ocean. We got 2 oceans separating us from the rest of the world. We're good. You know, we've got Mother Nature on our side. But yeah, I mean, like it's right on Europe's doorstep. And not only are they funding it, they're just allowing it to just keep continuing, where I guess Europe would say, what, oh, you suppose that we buy our energy from who? From you, from the United States? Well, I mean, that gives you a big financial advantage, wouldn't it? Well, yeah, it would, but at least the money wouldn't be going to Russia. And besides, how much money are we paying for NATO again? Isn't it like in the God knows how many billions of dollars a year that we're putting into NATO? We're paying way more than our fair share, and we have been probably for decades at this point. So chalk it up to that. Since we've been paying for NATO an insane amount of it for so long, start buying oil and coal from us. Quit buying it from Russia. We'll give you a fair price, and then we'll just leave it at that.
You're right there. And Europe has to step it up. They can't be doing what they're doing. They're buying oil and gas from Russia while they're fighting Russia. It's embarrassing to them, and it was very embarrassing to them when I found out about it, I can tell you that.
It's like these people are too afraid to say this.
They have to immediately cease all energy purchases from Russia. Otherwise, we're all wasting a lot of time So I'm ready to discuss this. We're going to discuss it today with the European nations, all gathered here. I'm sure they're thrilled to hear me speak about it, but that's
no, they're
the way
not.
it is. I like to speak
Why
my
is he
mind
saying the
and
quiet
speak the
part out
truth.
loud? Oh my God, why is he doing? But it's so obvious, man. It's so obvious. It's absolutely ridiculous that we sell weapons to Europe and then they hand the weapons over to the Ukraine. But meanwhile, Europe is buying energy from Russia, essentially allowing Russia to fund the war against Ukraine. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. All right, so anyway, this came from President Trump from his Truth Social, posted by GOP. It was a great honor to speak before the United Nations. I believe the speech was very well received. It focused very much on energy and migration immigration. I have been talking about this for a long period of time, and this forum was the absolute best from the standpoint of making these two important statements. I hope everybody gets to watch it. The teleprompter was broken, and the escalator came to a sudden halt as we were riding up to the podium, but both of those events probably made the speech more interesting than it would have been otherwise. It is always an honor to speak at the United Nations, even if their equipment is somewhat faulty. Make America great again. All right. And I think that, yeah, that wraps up the UN. So here's the full speech. I had already reposted it just to put it at the top of my profile. I'll just do it one more time if you just want to go check it out. Or you can go straight to the White House. It's up there at White House. They posted it at 10:08 a.m. And of course, they streamed it live. But his entire speech is right here if you want to check that out. I think it's a little bit over an hour long. All right. So I got a few posts with regard to Kamala Harris from townhall.com. Kamala reacts to Trump's address to the UN. Quote, there's a quote here. How do you think Kamala's speech would have gone? That is actually a pretty good question. It would have been filled with a bunch of woke nonsense, how we got to spend trillions of more dollars in green energy because climate change is just, it's going to torch the earth in just 12 more years, just 12 years from now. Anyway, here, let's give this a watch.
This person and what we just saw in terms of a presentation at the United Nations. I talk about it. I talked about, remember the debate?
Yeah.
They laughed at him the last time he was in front of the UN.
Yeah, this time
you remember just about, I don't know, several weeks ago, that meeting with Xi and Kim Jong-un and Putin?
Yeah.
You think they're not laughing?
Oh, they are.
As they create a new axis of partnership, what's happening? You bring people into the Oval Office. I have spent a lot of time in the Oval Office.
No, you think?
I have spent time in the Oval Office with the president, receiving our allies and our friends from around the world. And
she doesn't give a shit, man. She just wanted the prestige. She wanted to just sit there and just bask in her glory that she gets to be in the Oval Office.
Consistently, we have seen Donald Trump bring people into the Oval Office, be they a United States governor or the head of a state of a friendly nation, and embarrass them and ridicule and demean them.
Do tell.
That is not what a president does. This
the fuck is she talking
individual who occupies our White House right now.
Oh, he occupies it.
People's house.
Oh, the evil dictator, Orange Man.
Decided that he will be an emperor in his mind who will demonstrate his power by demeaning and belittling and making people feel small. But this is...
What the fuck is she talking about? It's like she's acting for a fucking stage play or something. What the hell was that? All right, whatever. Yeah, now I see what they mean by, like, how do you think she would have done at the UN? Oh, it would have been just an absolute just clown show. That's what it would have been, most likely. Anyway, here's from the GOP. Kamala Harris lied to the American people and is now trying to distance herself from her disastrous policies. Too late, Kamala. Americans know just how much of a failure you were. So this, I don't believe this has anything to do with the UN today. This is just something else that just happened to crop up today from the GOP. Let's give this a watch.
I didn't fully appreciate how much people wanted to know there was a difference between me and President Biden. I thought it was obvious. And I didn't want to offer a difference in a way that would be received or suggested to be a criticism. And you know, in the campaign, full time I was pointing out the differences.
Well, if anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
All right. Well, there you go. Take that for what it is. All right. So this is from Breaking 911. Breaking, Kamala Harris confirms Buttigieg wasn't chosen as her running mate because he's gay. Uh-oh. That's not good. This is on MSNBC.
Since this part of the book has come out, if you've had any reflection on that.
Oh, lovely.
Or,
like we really want to watch Rachel Maddow for 2 minutes.
I guess.
I apologize.
I guess I'd ask you to just elaborate on that a little bit. It's hard to hear.
Yeah.
With you running as, you're the first woman elected vice president. You're a black woman and a South Asian woman elected to that high office.
She just checks all the boxes with identity politics.
He couldn't be on the ticket effectively because he was gay. It's hard to hear.
No. That's not what I said. That he couldn't be on the ticket because he is gay.
Oh.
My point, as I write in the book, is that I was clear that in 107 days, in one of the most hotly contested elections for President of the United States, against someone like Donald Trump who knows no floor, to be a black woman running for President of the United States and as a vice presidential running mate,
what a fucking cringe fest.
With the stakes being so high, it made me very sad, but I also realized it would be a real risk. No matter. So you literally didn't choose him because he was gay. That's exactly. So you're making Rachel Maddow's point for her. How I've been an advocate and an ally of the
look
LGBT
at her look.
community.
She's like, you motherfucker.
So it wasn't about yeah, right. So it wasn't about any prejudice on my part, but
but it kind of was. It was
such a short period of time, and the stakes were so high. I think Pete is a phenomenal public servant. You want to say, Rachel Maddow, well, you were going to lose either way, so why not have just run with him? And I think America is and would be ready for that. But when I had to make that decision with 2 weeks to go. Even though America is totally ready for a gay vice president, Pete Buttigieg, but I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it because, America was totally ready for him, but America totally wasn't, though. And maybe I was being too cautious. I'll let our friends, we should all talk about that. Maybe she's homophobic. That's what she is. But that's the decision I made, and I, as with everything else in the book, I'm being very candid about that.
Yeah.
With a great deal of sadness about also the fact that it might have been a risk. Oh my God, dude! And I bet Rachel Maddow, I had to pause it because it's here at the end. Yeah. See, so like. I doubt she's going to push back at all, or else they probably would have included that little extra 10 seconds or so, but absolutely fucking ridiculous. She's like, no, I didn't do that, but yeah, I totally did that. Wow. All right. So let's move on to New York Post. Ryan Ruth, is it Ruth or Ralph? Ryan Ralph? I think I might just go with Ralph. I don't know. Tries to stab himself in the neck after hearing the guilty verdict. So let's give this a watch. This is over on YouTube. So... It looks like they're just going to do some commentary on it because there's a drawing of it. I'm assuming that the courtroom wasn't televised or anything. Otherwise, I think clips would have been all over the internet, but at least we'll get to hear a take on it.
It's quite shocking. As the verdict was read, it appeared to our producers inside the courtroom that Ruth tried to stab himself in the neck with a pen. That's what it appeared to look like. Then 4 marshals dragged him out of the courtroom, took his coat off. They then shackled him at the waist and ankles, and then they brought him back into the courtroom. So again, this just in from our producers, as the verdict was being read, Ruth tried to hurt himself in the neck with a pen.
Moments after Ryan Ruth...
Something tells me that nobody on the mainstream media reported a fucking second on this. Do you think, or I don't know, if they actually did, if you happen to be watching CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, any of the mainstream networks, did any of them air any of this? Even something as crazy as him trying to stab himself in the neck after they were reading all the verdicts, which he was guilty on all counts, by the way. I don't think they would because they don't want the people to know that, they don't want to show a human side of Trump where like somebody tried to assassinate him last year. That's just, I don't know, I'm just throwing that out there, but
was found
anyway.
guilty of 5 federal charges, including the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. He took a pen and tried to stab himself in the neck. Just as jurors
like
were
a pencil.
exiting the courtroom, prompting marshals to grab him and drag him out of the room. As he was being removed from the courtroom, his daughter, Sarah Ruth, was screaming, "Dad, I love you. Don't do anything. I'll get you out. He didn't hurt anybody." Minutes later, he returned to the room shackled
That sounded
at
like
his
a prison
waist
break
and
threat.
feet. The extent of his injuries wasn't immediately clear, but the white shirt he was wearing didn't appear to have any blood on it. Just over a year ago, on September 15th, 2024, Ruth was spotted by a Secret Service agent as he was camped out in a sniper's nest on the edge of Trump's golf course in Florida. He was arrested soon after the incident, charged with illegal possession of a firearm by a convicted felon and a firearm with an obliterated serial number. Ruth, a 59-year-old construction worker with no formal legal training, represented himself during the 2-week trial, putting on an amateur and bizarre defense in which he suggested the case should be settled by a golf match to the death.
Oh, give me a break.
He suggested that he and Trump face off on the green, and if Trump won, the president could execute Ruth. If Ruth won, he proposed, he would become president. The jurors took about 2 hours to find Ruth guilty of 5 federal charges of attempted assassination, assault on a federal officer, and gun crimes. Ruth's sentencing date is set for December 18th. He faces up to life in prison.
Yeah, he'll probably get it too. 5 felony counts. Wouldn't surprise me. So I'll link that if you want to check that out on your own time for any reason, if you want to watch that over again.
Welcome back in here to Alive Now from Fox. I am Andy Mack. Let's turn our attention right now to...
Oh, here we go. I had a feeling it was going to do that, damn it. Anyway, getting a little bit too ahead of myself. All right, so we're just going to move on to the next thing. Still related from Attorney General Pamela Bondi. Today's guilty verdict against would-be Trump assassin Ryan Ruth illustrates the Department of Justice's commitment to punishing those who engage in political violence. This attempted assassination was not only an attack on our president, but an affront to our very nation itself. I am grateful to USAOSDFL, the U.S. Attorney, SDFL, Southern District of Florida, I'm assuming, Jason Quinones, his entire trial team, and our law enforcement partners for protecting President Trump and securing this important verdict. And we also have a statement from FBI Director Kash Patel. Proud of the FBI and our partners for working together to deliver justice against Ryan Ruth, the individual who attempted to assassinate President Trump. We have a lot more work to do to crack down on political violence and make sure those who engage in this heinous behavior are off the streets and behind bars. We won't stop. Good. Very, very good. And we're going to move over to... From Veterans Affairs, the VA awards $84 million in grants to fight veterans' homelessness. And this was just posted today, just a few hours ago. From Washington, the Department of Veterans Affairs today announced $84 million in grants to 176 organizations across the country to help veterans who are homeless or at risk of becoming homeless. $42 million in grants will cover legal services, and another $42 million in grants will go toward case management services to improve housing retention by veterans who are at risk of becoming homeless or who were previously homeless and are transitioning to permanent housing. All right, so legal services grant will be distributed through VA's Legal Services for Homeless Veterans and Veterans at Risk for Homelessness grants programs and provide veterans with assistance with landlord-tenant disputes to prevent eviction, help with court proceedings for child support, custody, or estate planning, also help with obtaining benefits like state and federal compensation, and defending veterans in criminal cases such as outstanding warrants, fines, and driver's license revocation. Case management grants will be distributed through VA's Grant and Per Diem program and will fund approximately 100 case manager positions that provide essential services such as assistance with housing search and placement, home visits to monitor housing stability and assess the need for services and other support, as well as assistance with access to educational activities that support personal empowerment and independence. Quote, no one who served in our nation in uniform should go without shelter, said VA Secretary Doug Collins. Quote, these grants will provide crucial support and services to help thousands of veterans on their journey back to self-sufficiency, end quote. All right. We'll head back over here. Actually, I'm going to switch this over because I don't want to click on that again. That was from earlier. Rep. Jim Jordan going over the YouTube testimony. All right, so moving on to the next topic. From Liz Churchill, we are vindicated. Quote, we cannot find one, not one, unvaccinated child that has autism in the Amish community. The CDC has been hiding all of the data, end quote. The vaccine terrorists are guilty of mass injury, death, and crimes against humanity. Anyway, this came out on September 22nd, so it's barely 24 hours old. It's like 24 hours plus like 2 hours, so I mean, it's close enough. So anyway, here, let's give this a play here and see what this is all about.
How many children or people are totally unvaccinated? Is that like where do you find? Is it just the parents that stepped up and said? I would think that's a very small percentage because so many of us blindly followed, the recommendations to vaccinate children.
Yeah, it's less than 1% of the public. So the Amish are a perfect example of a large group of people who are largely unvaccinated. And there's no we can't find an autistic kid who was
fucking
unvaccinated.
Unbelievable.
Very, very rare in the Amish community. Very rare.
They can't find one. Not one autistic kid. Now, I suppose my follow-up question would be, well, how hard did you look? Did you actually, first off, did you have permission to go into the autism community and try to find an autistic child within the Amish community? And how many did you go to? How many communities? How many states? Like how many in total? Did it number in the thousands of children? I don't know if they actually have that level of data and statistics. I certainly hope that they do. And if they do, they really should blow that wide open, which, I mean, Liz Churchill, she's doing it. She's actually showing, proving the case right here. It doesn't look like Tylenol may be the leading driver with regard to autism in children, with pregnant women taking Tylenol on either a regular basis or a semi-regular basis. Of course, that sounds like it is leading to some forms of autism and ADHD. However, it looks like the vaccines are the primary driver.
Very rare. You won't find kids with ADD, with autoimmune disease, with PANS, with epilepsy. You just don't find any of these chronic diseases in the Amish. And the U.S. government has been studying the Amish for decades, but there's never been a report out to the public. The reason, of course, is it would show that, if you don't follow our guidelines, you're going to end up healthier. That's why there's no report after decades of studying the Amish. There's no report because the report would be devastating to the narrative. It would show that the CDC has been harming the public for decades and saying nothing and burying all the data.
Yep, just keeping the status quo, just keeping it going, being the bitch boys for Big Pharma. Absolutely crazy, man. I really hope that Trump CDC, I'm not sure how trustworthy they really are, even though that they're under Trump, but at least Secretary Kennedy, I could not imagine him not knowing about this. However, that really should be looked into. And well, it's already been looked into. I mean, this guy seems to know what he's talking about. I think they should bring him in as a consultant or something. I don't know who he is. But that is absolutely unbelievable, man. Absolutely crazy. All right, so from Nick Sordor, breaking, it's official. Again, this is barely 24 hours old. I didn't see this until after I started my episode last night, which I did start a little late, but still, I mean, I was doing preparation for the show last night, so I didn't have a chance to catch this in time before I started it, so that's why I'm bringing it up tonight. Breaking, it's official. President Trump has signed an executive order designating Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization. Finally. Start arresting those who are bankrolling them for funding terrorism, and Antifa will dissolve. So there you have it. Not sure if it's going to stand up. I'm absolutely certain. I don't have documentation in front of me to prove it, but I am certain that there's going to be some left-wing judge out there somewhere that's going to put a stop to it. And I would absolutely question them as to why you're doing it. Of course, their excuse is going to be, well, it's the First Amendment. It's the right to free expression. It's the right to peaceably assemble, even though Antifa never peaceably assembles, ever. I mean, they're always engaging in, rioting and other tactics of that nature. So we'll see. I think it's kind of a misstep on Trump's part. I think he should have designated them as an international terrorist organization, because I think that would have probably given our government more power to go after them. And it also may possibly have been more difficult for a judge to be able to overturn it or put a stop to it, because Antifa got its start in Germany. They are an international organization. So anyway, I guess we'll just have to see where that goes. I'd be pretty surprised if the federal courts don't touch this. I'm sure they probably will. And for all I know, that might have actually just been released. I mean, there's a tendency for some of these topics to come up like within an hour when I start recording. But I mean, the government never stops. It's 24/7. So there's always information always coming out. So I'm not going to be able to catch everything that's happening in real time, especially as I'm doing the show. I'm reviewing what I've collected over the day. Anyway, from Secretary Kristi Noem, Gavin Newsom, stop the reckless threats and demonization of our law enforcement. America deserves better than this. No amount of political fundraising or posturing to extremists and activists will make America better for our children. That is who we are fighting for, the next generation. We stand with our law enforcement, and we will not back down. Which, of course, the left, they don't care about the next generation. I mean, they abort their kids. They're pushing LGBT to the umpteenth degree, even though in Gen Z, what was it, like 30% or 20-something% of Gen Z apparently identifies as something other than straight. But history has taught us, or history and statistics has shown us that 5%, if that, of the population is gay or lesbian or what have you. So, but yeah, they don't give a shit about the next generation. They really don't. They want depopulation, if anything. But anyway, here, I'll go ahead and play this. It's a little bit long. But anyway, I believe Kristi Noem, this is the point where she breaks her silence with regard to that threatening tweet that Gavin Newsom's press office had released just the other day.
Stop. You know, these are serious. These are dangerous times. You know what? And people do get triggered, and people, you know, at times get indoctrinated. And when you dehumanize Nazi, fascist, racist, Hitler, Stalin, Mussolini, over time, you know, people that may not be all there begin to take it to heart and may think they're doing God's will. Here with more.
Yep, they want the conflict, man. They want the violence. Democrats are desperate for the violence.
First, your reaction to bad day for you.
Yeah, the post from the other day.
Well, it was cryptic.
I'm assuming he's going to show it on screen.
It was really menacing, I would say, Sean.
That's why I didn't go looking for it.
It immediately panicked my family and friends. Within, I would say, a couple of minutes of that being posted, I started to get text messages and phone calls, family, my kids saying, are you okay, Mom?
Freaking out.
You know, are you fine? They know the threats that I've had. They know the threats that they've had, the things that have happened to them because of politicians like this that say things and somebody grabs onto them that has an agenda, the cartels and criminals that have threatened our family already. So when you get a post like that by a governor, immediately, you know, my staff and family think, what is going on? What does he mean? And we're trying to figure it out. So, you know, this is a day and age where we've always known that words matter.
Yeah, which, by the way, the FBI is investigating this post, by the way. I hope he shows it here in a minute.
There's been real consequences that we have realized that have happened to incredible people like Charlie that we'll have to live with forever. And I hope we all learn from that. I hope we all learn that it's time to start listening to each other, having civil discourse, and stop ridiculous, irresponsible posts like Governor Newsom put out there.
Okay, you and your family, you've had to move into military housing. Now this bill, which doesn't become law until January.
Oh wow, she actually had to move into military housing after they posted that? Unfucking believable.
That the state of California is going to tell federal authorities, and they have jurisdiction, how and which ways they will enforce the laws of our country. I don't think that's going to fly. Your reaction?
Nope.
No, it's not going to fly, Sean. And you've already mentioned that it's unconstitutional. So this was just something they could use to posture and attack our ICE law enforcement officers over again. And that's what's so irresponsible about it. Governor Newsom.
Yeah, because they're going to take footage of any future ICE raids that happen in California. There's going to be cameramen in the area. They're going to take footage. And then the governor and other politicians are going to start showing that, broadcasting it all over California, saying, look, they're defying our laws. They really are Trump's Gestapo. They really are foot soldiers for the evil dictator. That's what they're going to do. And they're just going to try to ratchet up the political violence as much as they possibly can because they're fucking evil.
Waited many, many days to even sign this into law, and like you said, wouldn't even be enforced until January, which means that it's pointless. It's just something that they want to talk about. I was a governor when I had a bill and a policy that I thought was very important for my people in the state of South Dakota. We put an emergency clause on it. We signed it into law as soon as possible. That means that Governor Newsom doesn't think this is important. He just wants to use this to raise money. He wants to use it to go out and try to make himself feel like a big deal, and he's doing it by attacking our law enforcement officers and making their lives more more dangerous. And every time I'm in a room with our law enforcement officers, I'm talking to them before they go out on our streets, I'm just overwhelmed by the fact that all of these young men and women have families, that they all want to go home to their families at night too, and that people like Gavin Newsom are making it much more dangerous for them just to go do their jobs.
These are fellow Americans, for crying out loud.
I thought I knew Gavin. I really did.
I mean, look, I'm sure there's quite a lot of people who work for ICE that are from California, born and raised, probably spend thousands of dollars on their tax money, giving it to the state of California, and this is how they're repaid.
And I really expected more from him. I don't know why.
Not at this point, I don't.
He seems particularly tone deaf. This was 2 days after, or a week after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, a week and a couple of days after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. It seems tone deaf. You have any message to the governor, anything? If he was on this show with you, what would you say to him?
How dare you? How dare you?
The first words that come to my head are grow up, but it's so much bigger than that what he needs to do. We need a maturity and a seriousness and a gravity of the situation that we have
our law
here in this country right now to hit people and to make them realize that our country is better than this. It's better than posts like that. It's better than how he acts and the posturing, and that no amount of money he can raise for his political campaign, no amount of posturing to extremists and to activists is going to help make this life better for our kids and for our grandkids. So what we're doing here today and why we should get out of bed every single morning should be about what kind of a country our kids are going to live in, what kind of a country will our grandkids get. I know that's what makes me do my job every day. I just would hope that the rest of the country and people like him would recognize the importance of it.
All right, Secretary Noem.
Well, I mean, we already know what they envisioned for the future of our country when you look at Hollywood with Blade Runner and freaking like Looper and, just like name your future sci-fi movie and how dystopic they always are. It always look like a nightmare existence. Elysium, that's a perfect example. The elites are going to be living up in their space ivory tower while we're all living in fucking squalor and hopelessness. Anyway, the tweet, or the post, I'm kind of irritated he didn't show it, but it said something like, "Today will be a bad day for Kristi Noem. America is watching." I think that's basically what it said. And it came from Gavin Newsom's press office. So there you have it. Anyway, we'll move on to the next topic here from Secretary Sean Duffy. That's right, FBI Director Kash. Here, I'll actually read his first, and then I'll read Secretary Duffy's response to this. So from FBI Director Kash Patel. As the director of the FBI, I am committed to ensuring the investigation into Charlie Kirk's assassination is thorough and exhaustive, pursuing every lead to its conclusion. The full weight of America's law enforcement agencies are actively following the evidence that has emerged, but our efforts extend beyond initial findings. We are examining every facet of this assassination. We are meticulously investigating theories and questions, including the location from where the shot was taken, the possibility of accomplices, the text message confession and related conversations, also Discord chats, the angle of the shot and bullet impact, how the weapon was transported, hand gestures observed as potential signals near Charlie at the time of his assassination. You remember that when that was circulating around, like within hours after he was shot? Those two guys that were standing right behind Charlie, they were doing those weird hand signals. If you've been watching my episodes each day, it must have either been on the 10th or it was on the 11th when I showed that video, but that went viral. Just really weird. They appeared to be his security, but they were making these like weird, like one of them like touched his hat 3 times or something like that, and then Charlie got shot like immediately as soon as they did that. It was very, very bizarre. Anyway, and visitors to the alleged shooter's residence in the hours and days leading up to September 10th. Some details are known today, while others are still being pursued to ensure every possibility is considered. Our primary focus is to complete this investigation and deliver justice. To protect the integrity of the investigation and subsequent prosecution, we cannot release every piece of information we have to the public right now, which is very, very typical of the FBI. Honestly, I'm pretty shocked that he's actually being this transparent right now. So anyway, he goes on to say, we will ensure every question is addressed at the appropriate moment. Regarding specific details, such as questions about the plane that allegedly turned off its transponder after departing from an airport near the assassination site, we can share updates when answers are confirmed. After interviews with the pilot and consultation with the FAA, we determined the transponder was not turned off. Incomplete flight data in rural areas caused the apparent gap. That was also something that was going crazy viral at the time, because they're just, you know, the internet sleuths, you know how they are. They just scour everything going on the internet in real time. And somebody happened to see on one of those flight tracker apps that there was a flight leaving the same area in Utah where the assassination happened. What is it, in Orem, I think? And it appeared to turn off its flight transponder immediately after takeoff, and it was off for like a full hour, and then the plane returned an hour later. It looked very suspicious. So there were speculations that perhaps international entities may have been involved with assassinating Charlie Kirk at the time. Again, this was like within like an hour or two after it happened. It was like right after. So yeah, so I'm frankly pretty surprised that he actually elaborated on that, because that was one of those like leading conspiracy theories going on at the time. So he finishes up by saying, the entire FBI mourns the loss of Charlie Kirk. We will not rest until justice is served, and our investigation into this assassination will continue until every question is answered. All right, so this is what Secretary Sean Duffy says. The Trump administration is committed to transparency, especially about the investigation into Charlie Kirk's assassination. Here's what we know about the plane. On September 10th, an aircraft departed PVU Airport at 1312 MDT and landed at PGA Airport at 1347 MDT. It then departed PGA at 1430 MDT and landed back at PVU again at 1508 MDT. The aircraft operated within its scheduled flight plan. No transponder was turned off. The FAA News is working closely with the FBI to assist on the investigation. For Charlie, the Trump administration will never give up the fight. So they did elaborate on that. Just take it for what it is. If you're a conspiracy theorist and this doesn't convince you, you know, I don't really know what to tell you, but I mean, I seem to buy it. It looks like they've got the guy, you know. I would be ready to put the whole flight thing to rest at this point. All right, so moving on to the next segue, the U.S. Department of Energy. Thanks to President Trump, Americans are spending the smallest share of their disposable income on gasoline since 2005. So I immediately pushed back against this when I saw this. In fact, I believe I shared an image. So this is from yours truly. Not the case in Florida. We averaged $3.02 today. Gas dropped below $2 during Trump 1.0, of course, being Trump's first term. So I just took this screenshot about 3 hours ago. Florida gas price statistics. Today, it's currently at $3.02. The lowest in the state's at $2.55, which is not in my area. I believe locally, we're sitting around $3.15, maybe $3.20 a gallon. So anyway, we do have a minute and a half clip on this, so we'll just hear what she has to say.
In other news, positive economic data continues to pour in. Brand new polling shows that Americans' faith in the economy and the direction of the nation is back on track and shooting even higher. Home ownership is more affordable, with mortgage rates dropping to a 3-year low. For new home buyers, this represents a $250 decline in your monthly mortgage payment.
Yeah, but dude, like the average monthly mortgage payment on a house that you purchase currently is like $2,700 a month. And that's average. It is absolutely crazy. I mean, the average priced home anywhere in America, when you average out all homes, it's almost $400,000, which means in order to qualify for the average priced home today with a bank to get a mortgage, you have to be making at or slightly above $100,000 a year, which the vast majority of American families are not making. So, I mean, I honestly, I'm not going to pause it again, but I could probably pause 5 or 6 times if she keeps going down those statistics. And I mean, I'm really pushing back against the economy because I'm not upper class. I haven't owned my home for years. I actually don't own a home. But yes, for some people, it's great because if you bought your house before COVID, it's doubled in value. You've got a lot of equity to your name now. Of course, things are looking good for you, except for when you go grocery shopping and spending your money on consumer goods. But for most people, renters especially, things are not looking good. Things are getting a little bit better month after month, but things are not good in the sense that they were good in 2019. In 2019, we were rocking and rolling. Things were looking great. It was party time in the economy back then. But that is very far from the case today. And I'm not so sure if we're even going to get back to it, man. A bag of Doritos at the grocery store, the regular size bag is $7 right now. $7. And I don't buy soda. Last I saw, I think that Mountain Dew, a 2-liter, where I live locally in St. Pete, it was like $3. It was like $3.10 or something for one single 2-liter. Absolutely crazy. Like 2 liters of Mountain Dew should be like $1.20. It's fucking insane. It's fucking water and sugar.
Or nearly $3,000 a year. And President Trump has made it very clear he wants to continue to see mortgage rates decline to a record low, just like they did in his first term.
That's what they need to do.
Thanks to President Trump's unleashing energy dominance, gas prices are dropping and Americans are spending the smallest share of their disposable income on gasoline since 2005. Additionally, the annual cost to own and operate a new vehicle is down by nearly 6% over the last year.
Still
Americans are
expensive.
earning more and they are spending more than ever before. After inflation outpaced for 26 straight months under Joe Biden, real wages have increased nearly every month since President Trump took office, with wages for blue-collar workers rising at the fastest rate in 6 decades. Retail sales are also booming, up 5% over last year. And the stock market is booming, and Americans' retirement accounts continue to do well, with the Dow, S&P 500, and NASDAQ all hitting new record highs. In fact, the S&P 500 is up nearly 15%, and the NASDAQ is up more than 21% since Election Day.
Yeah, and also gold is exploding again. Gold is nearing $4,000 an ounce right now. From what I remember hearing after the 2008 crash, that when gold goes up, that's usually a sign that the economy is not going to do very well because people are moving their investments from something that they can actually hold in their hand. So I guess history, that's kind of what it speaks to. But apparently there were massive gold purchases that happened in Asia over the last 24 hours. And gold went from like, what was like $3,200 or $3,300. It shot up to like $3,800 today. An absolute crazy amount. As far as the vehicle prices, yeah, they're probably down 6% year over year. I mean, I absolutely believe that to be true because nobody's buying new cars. The few people who are, they're paying $740 a month is the average new car payment today. $525 a month is the average used car payment currently today. So they're still wildly expensive, and a lot of people aren't buying them. If you go to your local car dealership, they are overflowing like crazy because there's nobody buying cars right now. So what can the car companies do? In order to sell a car, they got to lower the prices because they're absolutely insanely expensive. But I think they're trying to hold their ground as long as humanly possible because they just want to reach a point where Americans just simply get used to it. This is the new normal now. Doritos are $7 a bag now. I guess that's just what we're going to have to pay now. Except a lot of people, they just don't have that money. So they're just going to opt to not buy it. However, it seems like most of these companies, they're not suffering financially to the extent that they either have to drastically reduce prices or file bankruptcy or anything like that. So I don't know, man. It's kind of a conundrum we find ourselves in because the unemployment rate is still really low. It's like 4%. I mean, it's higher than it was over the last few years, but it's still pretty low historically speaking. I mean, compared to 2008, 2009, I think unemployment shot up to like what, 12, 14%, something like that, which drove this huge foreclosure crisis. But anyway, so I'll just move on to the next thing. So I just randomly came across this. So this was in response to JD Vance's post. Let me see if I can find it. No, it wasn't that one. No, actually, I believe it might have been a reply. I think he replied to somebody. I can't remember what it was. Hold on. We'll dismantle Antifa. No, it wasn't that one. Wasn't that. Okay, maybe I'm not going to find it. Damn it. No, it was actually a pretty good post. It was a short one, but I can't remember what it was. But anyway, this is an older meme that was circulating around a few months ago, like back in January, February, when Trump was taking over. So I don't know if you saw this or not, but I found it to be hilarious. He's wheeling him out of the White House and into the dumpster. All right, enough fun with that. And we'll do one more time. Oh man, you gotta love the conservatives, the right-wing internet. They can meme. The left can't meme, but the right can. The right's pretty good at it because over on the right, or on the conservative side, we still have all forms of comedy. Over on the left, no, if you say the wrong thing, you're going to get canceled, banned, all kinds of shit. All right, so moving on to Senate Republicans. President Trump was right. Senate Democrats' demands are totally unserious. They're holding government funding hostage and demanding a far-left radical wish list as ransom. The Schumer shutdown plan is bad for America, which the Democrats, they're pushing back by saying that with the beautiful bill, I think they're referencing the beautiful bill, that millions of Americans are going to lose their health insurance without informing everybody that the vast majority they're talking about are illegal immigrants. But at the same time, they're trying to vote to put a stop to the $50 billion that the big, beautiful bill had allocated for rural hospitals. Democrats are trying to get that removed from the current legislation. So wait a minute, I thought you were all about health care. I thought you were all about dumping a whole shitload of money into health care. So why are you trying to get rid of $50 billion for rural hospitals? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. All right, but anyway, here, I'll go ahead and read this. It's lengthy, but you know how President Trump does it on Truth Social. So it starts here at the top. After reviewing the details of the unserious and ridiculous demands being made by the minority radical left Democrats in return for their votes to keep our thriving country open, I have decided that no meeting with their congressional leaders could possibly be productive. Yeah, he had scheduled a meeting with Chuck Schumer and a couple of Democrats today, and then he ended up canceling it, which I totally supported. It's a complete fucking waste of time. The president's a busy man. Like, why are you going to waste time with Chuck Schumer? You're not going to get anything fucking done with him. Anyway, they are threatening to shut down the government of the United States unless they have over $1 trillion in new spending to continue free health care for illegal aliens, which is a monumental cost, and force taxpayers to fund transgender surgeries for minors, also have dead people on the Medicaid rolls, allow illegal alien criminals to steal billions of dollars in American taxpayer benefits, try to force our country to again open our borders to criminals and to the world, also allowing men to play in women's sports, and essentially create transgender operations for everybody. These radical left views and policies is what allowed me to win the presidential election, including all 7 swing states and the popular vote in a historic landslide. First time in 20 years for a Republican. There are consequences to losing elections, but based on their letter to me, the Democrats haven't figured that out yet. They are trying to eliminate the popular $50 billion rule and vulnerable hospital fund, which was passed with only Republican votes and proudly signed into law by me. The Democrats in Congress seem to have totally lost their way. They obviously have no idea what it means to put America first or to make America great again. All congressional Democrats want to do is enact radical left policies that nobody voted for. High taxes, open borders, no consequences for violent criminals, men and women's sports, taxpayer-funded transgender surgery, and much more. Let's see. Few people voted for what they represent, which would lead to the destruction of America. Instead, people voted for common sense, and that's what the Republicans and your president, Donald J. Trump, stand for. I look forward to meeting with them if they get serious about the future of our nation. We must keep the government open and legislate like true patriots rather than hold American citizens hostage, knowing that they want our now thriving country closed. I will be happy to meet with them if they agree to the principles in this letter. They must do their job. Otherwise, it will just be another long and brutal slog through their radicalized quicksand. To the leaders of the Democrat Party, the ball is in your court. I look forward to meeting with you when you become realistic about the things that our country stands for. Do the right thing. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. And I think Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, I think, anybody who's a legislator and a Republican, hold your ground. Don't cave into them. Don't cave into them. If they got to shut down the government, so be it. Let the Democrats own it. That's all I'm saying. Because if the Republicans, if they back off, if the government shut down for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and the Republicans decide to blink, it's going to be all for nothing. And the Democrats are going to parade that around for the entire next year, saying that it was all the Republicans' fault. I would just stand your ground, even if it goes for a month or 2, 3 months. It really sucks for especially the military if they're not going to be getting their paychecks. I mean, that's horrible. And it's the fault of the Democrats. The Democrats want over $1 trillion so they could bring back all of this bullshit that they got rid of in the beautiful bill. Also, to restore a lot of funding with USAID bullshit. And we already know, all that nonsense that they were funding overseas. So I really hope that they do hold their ground on this, because that's going to be the right thing. And the voters are going to know what's up. They're absolutely going to know what's up. They could blame Republicans all they want, but I don't think it's going to hold up. But anyway, yeah, I mean, they are in absolute disarray, especially just the assassination of Charlie Kirk alone. I think that turned so many people away from the Democratic Party. The midterms are, for lack of a better term, they're going to be interesting. They're going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. I'm not going to jump the gun and call it a red tsunami or anything like that. No, I think every time that happens, it ends up backfiring. It ends up being like a little red trickle, if anything. So anyway, this is in the same subject. So Senate Republicans, this isn't true. Senate Democrats are prepared to shut down the government if illegal aliens don't get taxpayer-funded health care. Senate Democrats are fighting for illegal aliens in Chuck Schumer's political career, not working Americans. And they're replying to Senator Chris Coons. Republicans have blocked Democrats out of the budget process because we're standing up for families struggling with rising healthcare costs. Illegal immigrants. They're fighting for the wealthy. We're fighting for working Americans. That's the difference between us. You know, there's a few things that they're leaving out. Just a few. And once more from Senate Republicans, bogus. On Friday, Senator Duckworth voted to cut $50 billion from rural hospitals. So we know this isn't about health care. Democrats want a fight with the president, and Americans will pay the price of their shutdown. From Tammy Duckworth, health care. We want families to have health care. When Trump rants about how unreasonable this is, remember that he decimated Medicaid to gift wrap tax cuts for his Mar-a-Lago pals. And instead of helping us fix the crisis he created, Trump is shutting down the government. No, he's not, dude. Y'all are shutting down the government. Come on. But we all know that. We all know that he's shutting down the Democrats are shutting down the government. And yeah, the whole Medicaid thing, fraud, waste, and abuse. That's why there was major cuts with Medicaid because of fraud that was discovered that, I don't know if it was in the millions of people, but there were large amounts of people who were receiving Medicaid who were not entitled to receive it. And apparently a lot of dead people were getting Medicaid money somehow. So like, where the hell did all that money go? I don't know. It's anybody's guess. Plus, not to mention the biggest elephant in the room, illegal immigrants. They were receiving Medicare, Medicaid, whatever the hell it was. They were receiving, countless billions of dollars worth. So anyway, we got one more, maybe two more, but we'll see. If Senate Democrats were serious about Americans' access to health care, they wouldn't have voted to cut $50 billion from rural hospitals. Democrats will shut down the government and hurt Americans simply because they don't like President Trump. And Alex Padilla, Democrat, Senate Democrats are fighting to make sure every family can get the health care they deserve without going broke. And let's see. So we got last week, Democrats voted to add more than $1 trillion in spending to a short-term funding bill to give illegal aliens free health care and send tax dollars overseas for woke projects. They voted against a clean bipartisan funding bill similar to the 13 funding bills they supported under Biden. And they're replying to Senator Lisa Blunt Rochester. Last week, Democrats voted for a bill that would keep the government open and restore health care funding for millions of Americans. Republicans blocked that bill and left town. If the government shuts down, it's because they refuse to negotiate. And they're replying to Trump cancels Thursday meeting with Democrat leaders ahead of September 30th government shutdown deadline. Now a staring contest ahead of potential shutdown with painful consequences. Look, in order to pass a funding bill through the Senate, it has to get 60 votes. It has to. Well, Republicans, they don't represent 60% of the Senate. I believe that Republicans have 53 votes, if I'm not mistaken. So they're 7 away from the 60, which means they need to get 7 votes from Democrats. And if none of the Democrats, and we know how hyper-polarized everything is, if the Democrats remain in lockstep, which they always are, they're not going to get the 60 votes, and the government's going to shut down. And that is how Democrats are controlling the Senate. Even though they don't have the majority, they've got the control because they need 7 votes from Democrats. And we have, looks like maybe finally this is the last one. So Senate Republicans, they say wrong. Senator Lujan and Senate Democrats, Senate Democrats voted against a clean bipartisan funding bill because they want illegal aliens to receive taxpayer-funded health care. They'd rather fight for illegal aliens than keep paying our troops and Border Patrol agents. And that's what I said. They're literally holding the paychecks for our troops hostage in order to get illegal immigrants funding for their health care, even though they have zero entitlement to it. I mean, a lot of us, even including myself, I would greatly benefit from getting quote-unquote free health care or even having the government pay for even some of it. It'd be an enormous help for me. All right, so, and he says exactly what I said yesterday, that they were going to start chanting and saying, the federal government will shut down on October 1st. Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. I've been saying that the last couple days, in fact. That's what Democrats are going to say. Well, the Republicans, they're the ones that control the House. They've got the Senate majority. They've got the White House. And even a cherry on top, they even have the Supreme Court. Anyway, Republicans had every opportunity to keep the government open and address the looming healthcare affordability crisis, but they didn't. Look, Democrats are going to have to eat this healthcare affordability crisis because Obamacare. Obama attached his name to Obamacare. That's why our healthcare system is so fucked right now. It's been that way for over a decade. If you're in your 30s, probably even in your 40s, go over to what is it? The ACA or affordablecare.gov, or I can't remember what the exact website is. Maybe it's ACA Healthcare. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But if you go over to the Affordable Healthcare government website, and you can actually apply to see how much your monthly premium will be, and they'll give you the tiers. There's the bronze tier, the silver, the gold, and the platinum tier. Take a look at the platinum. That was the average American's healthcare plan back in the 2000s before Obamacare rolled out. $250 for inpatient, $100 for emergency room, $50 for immediate care, $35 for specialist, $20 for PCP. That was pretty standard back in the 2000s. When I applied for it about 6-7 years ago, I wasn't going to get it. I was just applying to see what the number was. It was $1,400 a month for me in my mid-30s with no pre-existing condition at the time. Perfectly healthy, $1,400 a month. I can only imagine what it is right now. It's probably like $2,300, $2,400 a month. It's absolutely crazy. So yeah, the Democrats are going to have to, they're going to have to eat this, which of course they're not going to. They're at least going to try not to. But yeah, this is absolutely the fault of the Democrats. Plus, you know, under their control, it seems like fraud, waste, and abuse just runs rampant across the government. So anyway, the last shutdown happened on President Trump's watch. And once again, we're starting down another manufacturer crisis from the shutdown president. No, it's not Trump. It's actually the Democrats. But we know the dirty games they play. This is politics for you. All right, so let's move over to this here. Let's see. Oh, so they did elaborate on this. Okay, so that Hannity video from earlier, I actually just positioned it in the wrong spot, but that's okay. We'll follow up on that. So from Kingsley Wilson, breaking, Secretary Hegseth has decided to terminate the Defense Advisory Committee on Women in the Services. The committee is focused on advancing a divisive feminist agenda that hurts combat readiness, while Secretary Hegseth has focused on advancing uniform, sex-neutral standards across the department. And from Sean Hannity, Kristi Noem reacts to a tweet from Governor Newsom's press office saying, and here it is, Kristi Noem is going to have a bad day today. You're welcome, America. I think I actually got it verbatim when I read it earlier. So we can skip over this. We already saw the entire interview. So I'll just go ahead and move to the next thing. U.S. Commerce Department. Let's see. It's a quote. So anyway, it follows up here with, the Trump gold card will fix America's broken immigration system, and the experts are taking notice. Let's give this a quick watch here.
Howard Lutnick says there'll be 80,000 of these gold cards available. What kind of revenue do you anticipate from this?
80,000?
Well, they're expecting $100 billion plus, but what was really smart is they tapped into the industry and they figured out that the Trump card is better off with 270 days in the country, excluding your foreign income, which was very smart of them. They're actually tapping into the market, and I'm proud of what they've done.
Well, and also you get a good idea as to how many people are going to apply for it. Will they hit the 80,000 number? Is that what they said?
There'll be 80,000.
Yeah, 80,000. There's going to be 80,000 of these, and it's going to cost $1 million. I didn't know the 5 million. I didn't hear about the 5 million number. But yeah, but I heard a foreigner, they could pay $1 million for the Trump gold card for a fast track visa. And if there's a company that wants to bring in someone who's living abroad, a foreigner, to work for their company, they can sponsor that individual, but it's going to cost the company $2 million to do so. And with 80,000, I'm really going to be curious to see if they actually max out that number. If they do, then hell, man, let's beef up them numbers. Let's release 100,000. Fuck it. And I believe all of this money is going to be going directly to the U.S. Treasury, by the way. And moving on to DEA New Orleans, memo to drug traffickers, FedEx is for packages, not pounds of meth. Thanks to our agents, this 12-pound shipment of poison won't be hitting the streets. Another delivery intercepted. There you go. Using FedEx to ship meth around. Fucking idiots. And they probably got their fingerprints all over it, too. Bunch of geniuses. And from HHS.gov, almost 4 million views, and it's total disinformation. At today's press conference, the president and HHS officials discussed prescription leucovorin, which can only be taken in consultation with a doctor. It is not to be conflated with any over-the-counter drugs or supplements. And they're responding to Simon Meachling. RFK Jr. is set to announce Tylenol causes autism, and then he'll push the cure, leucovorin, folinic acid. Who sells folinic acid? Dr. Oz's supplement company, iHerb. The same Dr. Oz who is now the administrator for the Centers of Medicare and Medicaid Services in Trump's administration. Think about that. A government health official tied to the very supplement company that benefits from RFK Jr.'s bogus cure. This isn't public health. It's corruption dressed up as wellness. Sounds to me like somebody is a megaphone for Big Pharma. That's what it sounds like to me. Sounds like big rabble-rouser. 5.5 million views, so that's why 61,000 likes. That's why that they decided to clarify the record on that, which they didn't. I saw the press conference, the announcement. He didn't say anything about this, about that folic acid, whatever. Didn't say a word on it. Anyway, from U.S. Department of Transportation, we hit our 2,000 air traffic controllers hiring goal. Secretary Duffy supercharged the hiring pipeline by accelerating enrollment and reward retirement eligible controllers with a 20% bonus to stay. We're going to make air travel great again. And that's been in the news for at least a few months now because they were severely understaffed. And Secretary Duffy, can't remember which airport it was that he toured, but he toured an air traffic control tower in one of our city's airports, and they still had tech in there from the 1970s. They were still using control boards and shit from the 1970s. So that's when he went to the federal government, and they allocated billions of dollars to upgrade our air traffic control systems, which is a great idea. Frankly, I'm surprised that they're not already talking about integrating AI into it somehow, and maybe eventually possibly even automating it, which they might in the future. I honestly hope that they don't, just for the sake of these air traffic controllers, especially the 2,000 that have signed up to get into a program to be one. All right, from One America News, never confuse incompetence for conspiracy. Eric Eggers tells Riley Lewis that corruption and incompetence are at the core of America's national debt problem on The Real Story on One America News. Watch here. Well, we'll just watch right here instead.
Our country is approaching $38 trillion in debt. Very few people seem to have any interest in really, chipping away that problem in a meaningful way.
Yeah, right now, just to say it real quick, the amount of interest that the American taxpayers have to pay on that debt annually is almost $940 billion per year, every year. And when the next debt ceiling is raised, because I assure you it's going to be raised again at some point, once that number starts to approach $40 trillion, the interest payments are going to surpass $1 trillion per year. So if you're ever wondering, all these people, these countries, and all of these entities that own America's debt, are they happy with the amount of debt that's out there? Oh, yeah, they're very happy with it. In fact, I wouldn't mind investing some money into some of America's debt because it's never going to get paid off. These interest payment, it's basically a credit card, paying the minimum interest payments on a credit card, because the interest payments that we're paying on, it's not reducing the debt at all. All it's doing is just holding it where it's at. So yeah, $940 billion a year that we're just paying on interest on the debt. It's something like 20% of all the money the federal government spends currently. Fucking insane.
Obviously, we need radical action. And we've tried to bring people like Elon Musk into the fold to help us with that, and he just seems disheartened at this point. So I know this calls for some speculation, but what do you think is really the crux of the problem? Is it just corruption,
incompetence,
ineptitude, a combination of both?
And corruption.
What's going on here?
Riley, one of my favorite phrases is never confuse incompetence for conspiracy. But unfortunately, in this case, I think we probably have a really awkward and poisonous mix of both. Because I do think that we do have some conspiracy. The reality is status quo is really profitable for these entrenched business interests. You and I have spoken before about how wealthy Washington, D.C. has become because of the lobbyists and all the contractors. But you also have people who are not overly focused on doing what's in the best interest for the country. They're in doing the things that are in the best interest for themselves. So I think, unfortunately, it is a mix of corruption. You got members of Congress doing inside trading all the time. You've got, the revolving door of staff members going and getting contracts or getting jobs with the people that get the contracts they pass out. So the fact that they're trying to undo all the wins that Republicans just put in for the big, beautiful bill in terms of the spending cuts. You mentioned Elon Musk, and we can all understand why he's so kind of down-spirited. But the reality is, like, they fought hard for what little they were able to preserve from his work. And the Democrats are now even trying to go back and undo that. It is unfortunate, but it is the mentality and the expectation of the people in Washington, D.C., and they're about to find out that that's not how business is going to be done anymore. You know, I'm no IT professional, but sometimes when something's not working, the best thing you can do is shut it off for a brief amount of time and then turn it back on, and we may see them do that with the federal government.
Oh, man, I don't know about all that, but I mean, I think what they might end up doing is trying to reinvent the dollar somehow, perhaps through cryptocurrency, and maybe they'll try to find a way to just weasel out of the debt obligation, which would probably fire up World War III, but, you know, what do I know? From the New York Post, $2.2 billion solar plant in California, of all places. Of course, it's in California, in the middle of the desert where they get sunshine all the time, every single day. They get plenty of sunshine for this project. But the solar plant in California is going to be turned off after years of wasted money. Quote, it never lived up to its promises. Isn't that hilarious? Your taxpayer dollars at work. I mean, and they've spent well over $1 trillion at this point on all this renewable energy bullshit, and this is what we're getting. We're getting these stupid-ass projects that are shutting down. But the people who built this, the people who sold all these solar panels, they got fat paid now, didn't they? Seen from the sky, the Ivanpah solar power facility in California's Mojave Desert resembles a futuristic dream. It's like out of Blade Runner 2049 at the very beginning in the opening credits. Well, lack thereof, they didn't really have opening credits, but whatever. Viewed from the bottom line, however, Ivanpah is anything but. The solar power plant, which features 3 459-foot towers and thousands of computer-controlled mirrors known as heliostats, cost some $2.2 billion to build. Construction began in 2010 and was completed in 2014. Now it's set to close in 2026 after failing to efficiently generate solar energy. In 2011, U.S. Department of Energy under Barack Obama issued $1.6 billion in 3 federal loan guarantees for the project, and the Secretary of Energy, Ernst Moniz, hailed it as an example of how America is becoming a world leader in solar energy. So whoever built all this, they got $1.6 billion from your money, my money, and they're going to tear it all down. Money's just going to be wasted. Not sure if they're going to scrap it all. It sounds like there's going to be a lot of equipment that's probably still going to be worth a fairly substantial amount of money. I mean, are they going to meticulously take all this down and sell it to somebody else, maybe over in Europe? Or are they just going to scrap it and we're just going to, you know, completely waste every freaking tax dollar that we put into it? Probably the latter. But ultimately, it's been more emblematic of profligate government spending and unwise bets on poorly conceived, quickly outdated technologies. Ivanpah stands as a testament to the waste and inefficiency of government-subsidized energy schemes, says Jason Isaac, CEO of the American Energy Institute, an American energy advocacy group. He told Fox News via statement this past February, it never lived up to its promises, producing less electricity than expected while relying on natural gas to stay operational. You can't make this shit up, man. They have to use natural gas to keep this shit fucking operational. It reminds me of those Tesla chargers where if there's not enough electricity or if there's too much of a demand on it, that they turn on those diesel generators to keep the power going. It's fucking ridiculous, man. Anyway, when Ivanpah began operating in 2014, it ranked as the world's largest solar plant. It seemed like a viable solution to California's renewable energy goals of employing affordable and efficient technology to reduce the need for fossil fuels. Located near the California-Nevada border, 65 miles southwest of Las Vegas, the plant's glowing towers are as striking as some casinos on the Strip. The facility's 5 square miles of desert were covered with some 173,500 heliostats adjusted via computer to catch maximum rays. The computer-controlled mirrors can reflect light from the sun at temperatures that can reach 1,000 degrees in part of the installment. The idea was that you could use the sun to produce a heat source. Alternative energy consultant Richard Smeloff told the Post. The mirrors reflect heat from the sun up to a receiver, which is mounted on top of the tower. That heats a fluid. It creates steam that spins a conventional steam turbine. It is complicated. No, it's not complicated. It's retarded. It's absolutely fucking stupid. Though it sounds like a bit of a Rube Goldberg contraption and looks like an art installation, Ivanpah was a cutting-edge idea for a while. But as the market changed, it couldn't compete with newer and less expensive forms of creating solar power. Dude, nuclear! There's nothing wrong with nuclear. especially by today's standards. They know how to safely build nuclear power plants to where they're not going to go fucking Chernobyl. But anyway, so there's a little bit left of the article, but that's the gist of it. That, yeah, they're shutting this thing down after spending billions of dollars of your money and my money. Let's see. It looks here just real quick. A statement from NRG Energy, the Texas-based company that was an Ivanpah partner and largest investor, having put up $300 million, agrees with Smeloff's view. Smeloff's view. All right. Simply did not scale up. It was kind of an obsolete technology that's been outpaced by solar photovoltaic technology. And I'll have that down in the description, of course. It's from the New York Post. You want to check that out. And from CBP, from Chief Michael W. Banks, nearly 1,000 law enforcement partners mobilized to ensure the safety and security of over 90,000 people in attendance at the Charlie Kirk Memorial event in Glendale, Arizona. This event is a great reflection of our unity and determination to keeping our community safe. Check this out.
I know it's fun, but get ready to pay your dues.
Probably copyrighted, isn't it? I'm sure it is. Damn it. There you go. Just a little snippet of all the security detail and everything that went into securing that event. Very cool. Yeah, it was good that it went off without any kind of pushback or any kind of tragedies or any strong rioting by the left or anything like that. I didn't see anything. I was looking online just to see if there was anything that was going to break out. They did put fencing around the entire perimeter, the temporary steel fencing, to try to keep out anybody who was going to try to get into any funny business. So, but I'm just glad that it went off without anything crazy and it all worked out. And now Charlie can rest in peace and we'll just keep fighting the good fight. And that's good that TPUSA, that they're continuing the tour. Michael Knowles, he kicked it off yesterday in Minnesota. It was great. It was a successful event, packed, sold out. So that's a good thing. But anyway, that's all I got for tonight. So if you enjoyed the video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It would really mean a lot to me if you subscribe. And I'll drop a new show every evening, Monday through Friday, covering the swamp and everyone living in it, the politicians, bureaucrats, agencies, and everything else. And I also post daily episodes over on X, so feel free to comment over there too if you'd like. And thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your night, and God bless America.